Real talk. You're not shrinking to fit rooms you've outgrown because you're humble. You're shrinking because you're still waiting for someone to give you permission to lead. And while you're waiting, someone else is taking up the space you earned, likely an employee that's starting to overstep. Today, we're talking about the moment you stop asking and start leading and why that shift changes everything. Hey. Welcome to She's That Founder Thursday edition. These are the quick rants, kick in the pants, velvet boot moments that represent me standing in the future, pulling you towards an even stronger, better, more powerful version of yourself with AI as your co-pilot. I was on a call with a client this week who said something that stopped me cold. She said, "I don't know why I keep asking for permission to do the thing I already know needs to be done." And I thought, girl, same. Here's what was happening. She had a team member who wasn't delivering, not showing up for metrics, not hitting the 40-hour work week they'd agreed on, bringing problems, but never solutions. And every time this team member threw something back at her with like, well, you're the owner, you make the final decision, my client would shrink. She'd soften her language, she'd backpedal, she'd say things like, well, maybe I wasn't clear enough. I don't want to micromanage. I should probably give them more time. Sound familiar? Because here's the thing. This isn't about one difficult employee. This is about a pattern that so many of us fall into, especially female founders. We wait for permission to lead the business that we own. We soften our authority because we don't want to be too much, too demanding, too direct, too whatever the story is we're telling ourselves. And meanwhile, our businesses hemorrhage money, our teams stay confused, and we stay stuck in this exhausting loop of trying to be liked instead of being effective. And I think it's possible to do both, by the way. So on this call, I asked her, what would change if you just decided you don't need permission to lead anymore? Silence. And after a moment, she said, I think everything would change. I told her my version of this story. It was a conference room moment I had years ago. Glass walls, decision makers everywhere, and me editing myself mid-sentence, softening my language, waiting for someone to co-sign my authority until something cracked inside. And I thought, why am I still waiting to be picked? These people didn't invite me here to whisper. They didn't include me in this room to sit and take up space and not contribute. They invited me because I know something that they don't. I have a particular perspective or point of view that would make a difference here. So I stopped hedging. I stopped padding my ideas in soft language, and I took up space. And do you know what happened? The room shifted, not because I got louder, but because I stopped making myself smaller. I actually fully embodied the skin bag that was sitting in the conference room chair. My love, leadership isn't something that someone gives you. It's something you decide and you fulfill. And the second you stop asking for permission and start showing up as the leader you already are, everything changes. So it's Thursday. You know it's time for a truth bomb, so here it is. You don't need permission to lead the business that you built. Let that sit for a second. Because here's what most of us do instead. We wait for our team to validate our decisions before we make them. We soften our directives so nobody feels uncomfortable. We apologize for taking up space, for asking for what we need, for expecting fulfillment of the standards that we set. And we tell ourselves it's because we're collaborative or empathetic or good leaders or vulnerable. But really, it's because we're scared. Scared of being too much. Scared of being wrong. Scared of not being liked. But here's what actually makes you a good leader. Clarity. Not softness, not hedging, clarity. When you say, here's what I need from you, here's the timeline, here's how we'll measure success, that's leadership. And when you say, this isn't working, you didn't meet that timeline or deadline, you did not meet the success criteria, here's what needs to change, that's leadership. When you stop asking yourself, is this okay, and start saying, here's the plan, that's leadership. My client, after that call, sent an email to her team member. Not a soft, hey, can we talk about this maybe email? A clear, direct email that said, here's what I've been asking for. Here's the timeline. If this doesn't shift in the next 2 weeks, we'll need to discuss next steps. No apologies, no hedging, no waiting for permission. It's the truth that her team member needed to hear. And the wild part, the team member responded with, "Thank you for the clarity. I know what I need to do now." Whether she does it, whether she doesn't do it, that's the next leadership moment for you. Because people don't want a leader who asks permission. They want a leader who leads. So if you're waiting for your team to validate your decisions before you make them, if you're softening your language so nobody feels uncomfortable, if you're asking, "Is this okay?" instead of saying, "Here's what we're doing," you're not being a good leader. You're being a people pleaser, and your business cannot afford that anymore. So here's what you need to remember. 1, you don't need permission to lead the business that you own. You just need to decide you're done asking. 2, clarity is leadership. Stop softening your directives to make everyone comfortable. And 3, your team doesn't need you to be liked. They need you to be clear. The room is waiting for you to stop asking and start leading. Now, if this hit home, and if you're realizing you've been waiting for permission to lead your own damn business, I want to invite you into the Insider Experience. It's my private email community where I share the frameworks, the hard truths, and the strategic moves that help you lead without apology. No permission needed, just clear direction on how to show up as the CEO your business needs. It's free. It's at shesthatfounder.com/insider. The link's also in the show notes, and it's where we do the real work. Join us. Stop asking and start leading. All right, Levy, here's what I want you to sit with. Where are you still asking for permission, and what would change if you just stopped? Think about that. And when you're ready to lead without apology, you know where to find me. Our next episode drops on Tuesday, and until then, I'm Dawn Andrews. You're listening to She's That Founder, and I adore you. Thank you for being with me. See you next time.